Hi guys, so today I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of the stuff I sent you in the email. So the association that I found recently, the past couple of weeks, the Brahma Kumaris, they taught me a little bit more about new information on the Four Ages I hadn't seen before. So the Four Ages is something I talked about in the book I sent you both. So the Four Ages we know of are the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Copper Age, and finally the Iron Age. So the Brahma Kumaris teaches that these four ages actually total up to 5,000 years. So that means each of these ages is made up of 1,250 years each. So 1,250 years here, 1,250 years in the Silver Age, 1,250 in the Copper, and 1,250 years in the Iron Age. So something new I learned as well was that there is one more age, and that age is called the Confluence Age. The Confluence Age is a time of transition between the Iron Age and the Golden Age. So confluence means the merging of two distinct periods of time. So the Confluence Age is the final 100 years of the Iron Age. It's at this point that humanity returns to the glory and light of the Golden Age after all destruction and the chaos that occurs. So before I dive more into the Confluence Age, I'm going to give a quick overview of what the Golden and Silver Ages are. So like I said in the book, during the Golden Age and the Silver Age, humanity is highly virtuous. They're very connected with one another. They're very spiritual. And this way, it's as if heaven is on earth. So heaven on earth is what the Golden and Silver Ages are. At this time, the population of humanity is small as well. And they're all very, very powerful. And by powerful, I mean they have a lot of spiritual strength. Through this spiritual power, they're able to control the world around them. They're able to heal and affect the natural life, such as the plants and animals and whatnot around them. They are the rulers of the world. And in this way, they are known as deities. So, ruled by deities. Deities is basically another word for a god, or gods. Not the one god that some religions talk about, but the pantheon of gods. And by pantheon of gods, I mean the tons of different aspects of God. So in Greek religion we have, or Greek mythology, we have the 12 gods of Olympus, such as Zeus and Apollo. Apollo might be Roman actually, but moving on. In Egyptian mythology, we have a whole pantheon of gods as well. We have Anubis, and Osiris, and Isis, and so on. Hinduism has hundreds of gods in its teachings as well. We have Ganesh and Shiva, and the list goes on and on. So basically, the Golden and Silver Age is ruled by these deities. These deities aren't given these names like Zeus or Anubis until another Confluence Age. And this Confluence Age is between the Silver and Copper Ages. And this specific Confluence Age can be referred to as the fall of humanity. So the fall of humanity can be referenced to many different religions and historical findings. I'm just going to stick with two I know best, or that come easily to me. So the Garden of Eden is one that comes very easy to mind. So the Garden of Eden began with the two humans, the male and female, Adam and Eve. And it's upon realizing, becoming embarrassed by their bodies, they realize that they're naked, so they give themselves clothes. at this time they lose their divinity. So during the Golden and Silver Ages, everyone is soul conscious. They are aware that they are not the body, that they are the soul, and that the soul lives on forever. And in this way, they are immortal. Their bodies may not live on forever, but their awareness of who they truly are is. So they could take birth in the Golden Age once here, their body dies, but then their soul moves on to another body, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's how they are immortal, because they know that the death of their body is only just the beginning of another new life in a new body. So it's once they become body conscious, that's when they lose their immortality. That's when they become mortal. So after the Silver Age, that's when mortality begins. That's when everyone starts becoming body conscious. Another example I can give is the fall of Lucifer. So Lucifer was an angel in heaven, and it's because he was tempted by the physical body of a woman on earth that he fell from grace. So that's only one story about Lucifer. There's plenty of others, but I'm just pulling that specific one out for this case right here. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the sinking of Atlantis. So Atlantis has been a myth in history and throughout popular culture for a very long time. Atlantis was thought to be this beautiful, technologically advanced civilization that fell into the ocean. So Atlantis can be thought of as that heaven on earth, where the people of the time are very powerful and very knowledgeable. So at the very end of the Silver Age is when all this knowledge, all these virtues, this soul consciousness, that's when all this ends. Virtues. So after this point, humanity becomes body conscious, like I said, and because they're body conscious, they start associating themselves only with sensual pleasures. So like eating or other things like that, vices basically. At this time they also become ignorant. They forget who they are. They forget that they are the soul. They forget all the knowledge that they had during the Golden and Silver Age. They lose their connection to their divinity, to their divine powers, to God, and they become disconnected. They become divided. During the Golden and Silver Age, all of humanity is united under the one worship of God and the knowledge that they are divine. It's only after the Copper Age happens that they become divided and that whole different nations are created, different religions are created. Oh, one last example I can give actually is the Tower of Babel. So the Tower of Babel was a tower that was basically created or tried to be created in order to reach heaven. It was a gigantic tower that was never completed. It was never completed because in the story it goes that God destroyed the tower and gave all the people who were trying to make it different languages so they could no longer communicate with each other in order to reach heaven. So this, in the same way, is when humanity becomes divided by different nations and languages, ethnicities, and religions. It's the time of divisions. So this right here, this Confluence Age between the Silver and Copper Age. That's the big division from divinity into, we'll just say, a normal physical world. It's no longer a divine world. It's no longer spiritually connected to the subtle world. So the people of the Golden and Silver Age knew that this fall of humanity was coming. Because they were connected to God, because they were connected to everything, they were able to see the future and the past laid out before them. In order to ensure that they made it from here, the Copper Age, all the way back to the end of the Iron Age, they created the deity religion. The deity religion is what I spoke about a little bit earlier about the myths, the Greek, Egyptian, Hindu myths. And those myths, those stories, were created in order for the people at the very end, at the Confluence Age, to remember who they really were. That they themselves were the gods of these ages, that they are the soul, and that it's time for them to remember who they are. The Confluence Age is when humanity begins to remember who they are, and also purify their souls in order to return to the Golden Age. So at the Confluence Age, everyone, all humanity, returns to this place called the Soul World. So the Soul World is where all the souls go to rest after they're done with their cycle, after they're done with their lifetimes they have lived. After resting in the Soul World, they eventually come back down whenever they're ready to any time that they wish, or any time that they are allowed to, based on their spiritual strength. Those who purify their souls completely during the Confluence Age through their own efforts are able to be granted birth during the Golden Age, the most spiritually high time during the world's existence. One can also be born in the Silver Age, or in neither of these. Some might only be born in the Copper Age once or twice, or in the Iron Age only once. It all depends on the efforts that are made to return to that soul consciousness and to that purity, and eventually be gifted and blessed with whatever birth that occurs later on. So everyone returns to the soul world at this time. Well, not everyone, a majority of them. In the Brahma Kumaris' teachings, they say that 900,000 or something are going to survive, and these 900,000 are the ones who live through the chaos, the destruction that occurs here, and establish the kingdom on earth, the Golden Age. Once they die during the Golden Age, they too go back to the soul world, but because their efforts of purification are so high, they're granted birth, they're allowed to come back down in the Golden Age and live there and enjoy the fruits of their efforts, basically. So, creation of the new world, and then it has to be divided here, and after this time, the world needs to be sustained. In the Golden and Silver Age, humanity is sustaining the world through its own spiritual power. They're able to give life to the plants, the animals, and be in control of the world so that there are no disasters, there is only peace. Once we fall, we start having our vices, and because of those vices, we lose our control over the world. And that's when disasters like hurricanes and tsunamis and tornadoes happen, because we're no longer in control of our bodies, we're no longer knowledgeable about who we are. So in order to sustain the world during this time of ignorance and vice, God sends down numerous different prophets. So these prophets are here to sustain the world. They give the world sustenance. One such prophet was Jesus Christ, the founder or initiator of Christianity, who taught about love and light and virtuousness and whatnot. And that was all just to bring us back to the way we were living during the Golden and Silver Ages. As people forget, over time, more and more prophets need to come down to remind humanity of the right way to live. So at the time, we also had Abraham. He gave us the 10 Commandments, the laws to live by. So instead of being ruled by deities, the Copper and Iron Age is ruled by laws, handed down by divinely appointed kings and prophets. We also have the Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam, who talks about the need to surrender to God and live righteously. We also have Buddha, creator of Buddhism, We talked about detaching from worldly desires, letting go of sensual pleasures in order to recognize the soul within and return peacefully to that soul consciousness. So those four prophets help sustain the world through teaching humanity of the proper way to live. But eventually, over time, as is necessary, people still lose themselves to their vices. They become more and more trapped in sensual pleasures and lose their recognition of who they are, and also lose sight of these teachings. They forget about the prophets and allow their sensual pleasures to take over. And that continues all the way up into the Iron Age until we hit the Confluence Age, where the worst of the worst is happening, where murders and lust and greed and pride take over. And we're given the opportunity to remember who we are, to remember where we came from, and to return to that place through making efforts to purify our souls. So that's the gist of it. There is much more to be learned through the Brahma Kumaris meditation centers. I sent you links to the closest centers. There's also information online. It can be sort of difficult to find, so I sent you links to the places I've found information. Some of the other information I've found over the past couple of years through my own research and made the connections. But this is the gist of it. And yeah, so it all goes in a cycle. The prophets, Jesus Christ and Abraham and Muhammad, Buddha, they came down. They weren't given birth during the Golden or Silver Age, but they came down during the Copper Age. And the Brahma Kumaris says that these prophets, at one point in time during this Confluence Age, came to the centers, to the Brahma Kumaris centers found all over the world, and stayed for a short time. They may have not stayed very long, but they learned a little bit about it, and they went back to the soul world. Then they came down during these times to give these teachings. Whereas those who stuck with the Brahma Kumaris and learned as much as possible, some of them became the deities. But this isn't to say that the Brahma Kumaris is the cure-all to everything. There are plenty of other people who are very spiritually advanced all over the world who have never heard of the Brahma Kumaris and who are still very spiritually powerful and very purified. And then some of them are also the deities that come down during the Golden and Silver Age. But definitely the Brahma Kumaris has a lot of significant information that I think will help you to advance along your path and find out what comes next. So that's all. I know I was talking pretty fast, and I tried to give a very to the point overview of what I've learned. I've definitely condensed it down. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me or give me a call. I'm always happy to talk about this stuff. I'd love to talk in person. I know it's not really the case as you live far away, but yeah, anytime. Just feel free to reach out. Good luck with anything that comes in the future. Wishing you all the best. I'll send you more pictures of this stuff and I'll type up a little bit more about it. But hopefully this video was able to help.